Well, Sláinte, and how do you do, buckaroos, and how the heck are you? I will be the Whiskey Whisperer for the purposes of this video. This is my second holiday cocktail show, and believe it or not, I'm going to do a third one tomorrow. I keep trying to come up with more cocktail recipes. This one kind of happened by accidental happenstance and necessity, if you will. Joining me today are the one and only Beer Samurai and Jersey Johnny, but the Samurai had to jump off camera to grab a few things. So, Mr. Johnny, how the hell are you, man?
I am good, Tom. How are you? How are you on this fine evening?
I just got home from work. It was one of those nights. If you're following me, so.
Oh hell no, I get it. Yeah, I just finished work.
I am really ready for a cocktail.
25 minutes ago. And I had to eat something really quick. Otherwise, we would have started this about 10, 15 minutes ago.
No, that's okay. Well, because I knew it was going to start late, I was able to, take a quick shower because I was hot and sweaty.
There you go.
So tell us about I assume we're all doing 2 cocktails, I guess. So tell us about your first cocktail.
My first cocktail is my holiday take on an old fashioned, or one of my several holiday takes on an old fashioned. It's a cranberry old fashioned.
All right, that sounds good.
So right here, it is Hudson. I like this bourbon. There are bourbons I love a lot more, obviously, but okay. I do like this bourbon. But I've had this before with you. But I had a little bit more of this bourbon in the bottle, and it's been sitting there, and I haven't been drinking it, so I wanted to finish the damn bottle. So
gotcha.
So it's Hudson whiskey. It's Bright Lights Big Bourbon. Okay. So I've had it before on the show, but look, the bottle's gone. There you go. So
what take it off my
barnet. So in it, it's bourbon. I made a simple syrup with cinnamon and clove.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not heavy cinnamon and heavy clove, just like 2 pinches of cinnamon and 1 pinch of clove in the simple syrup. So it's got just a nice, basic, holiday spice flavor to it. It's not super in your face. It lets the bourbon shine through. But I use cranberry bitters and just a splash of cranberry juice. Just literally just a little bit of splash of cranberry juice.
So tell me, do you love those cranberry bitters? Because I bought them and I just love those suckers.
So good. It's ridiculous. I bought the bottle about a week after you got yours, and I'm damn close to half through the bottle.
Well, I haven't gotten them yet. It's funny you're doing a cranberry old fashioned because that's one of my cocktails for tomorrow. Because today, before I went to work, I put together a cranberry ginger simple syrup for that cocktail.
Nice.
Oh, nice. So anyway, so Samurai, you're back. What is your first cocktail?
Mine is a play on a probably a white drunk girl classic, I would say. It is. John's laughing because he knows what
Hey!
He's laughing because he knows what I'm drinking.
So I know you're drinking. Yeah, and that used to be my go-to drink 35 years ago. So
tell me what it is, baby.
Apparently, I was a drunk white girl 35 years ago.
I'm going to call you the cocktail Samurai tonight.
Oh, you can do that. This is so you know that I like. I'm going to grab. I forgot to grab this. Here it is. So I was talking to John earlier, and what I developed here was out of complete utter neglect. And you know that sometimes you can do things that are wonderful because you've forgotten. So I did a cinnamon simple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
So because my squirt bottles aren't all that large, I did a half cup of sugar and half a cup of water because most people do a full cup. Equal measures, but I did half and half. And I broke up a couple cinnamon sticks into it and put that on the burner.
Oh, okay.
And I kept that on low. And about an hour later, I went in and most of the water was gone. So I added some more water to it.
I asked him why he didn't put butter in it, just make caramel at that point.
There you go.
Yeah, at that point. But no, it wasn't quite caramel yet. So it was still syrup. Add a little more water to thin it out a little bit so I could actually pour it, and let that simmer for another 10 minutes, so the water could, really just incorporate into everything and just to thin it out. Then cooled it down, put in the thing. So I wound up with a simple syrup that has got such an intense cinnamon to it I don't think I can do this again. So originally, like Johnny, I'm thinking, okay, I need to put this into a bourbon, and it's the holidays, and just like Johnny, just like you, what screams holidays more than cranberries? So I'm going to do a cranberry cinnamon bourbon cocktail.
Oh, nice. Okay.
The cranberry, the bourbon it stepped over everything. It just didn't work for me. I liked it. It was good. Like, no, let's let the cinnamon and the cranberry shine more. So basically, I decided to make this a vodka drink.
Oh, okay.
So it's a vodka cranberry, right? So this is the girly girl get drunk at the bar drink, right? Vodka cranberry.
Or yeah, thanks, girly girl.
Yeah, or Johnny get drunk at the bar.
Yeah, 35 years ago. Okay.
So this is the okay, I'm getting drunk, but it's also good for my kidneys because I'm drinking cranberry juice. So this is just equal parts vodka cranberry with really, it's only about half a tablespoon, maybe a teaspoon of this cinnamon simple sugar, orange bitters.
Orange bitters, okay.
To brighten up a little bit. And, I messed around with it a few times because, Tom, you know me, I'm never satisfied with the first iteration of anything I make. So I messed around with it a little bit, and then finally I just dialed it in. I'm like, I like this. I can drink this. This is worthy of the Whiskey Whisperer show. This is worthy of the Christmas cocktail show. So that's what I'm going to make on the show. That's where I'm starting.
All right, you make that, and I'm going to, that's my drink is warming as you're talking, so I'm going to tell you what I've got here. Are you too familiar with
and drink it? Well, I mix it.
Are you too familiar with shrubs?
Mm-hmm.
So I've got 3 cocktails planned for tomorrow's show, so I didn't want to use those 3 today. So I quickly put together 2 quick recipes, kind of based off a couple others. But anyway, so I saw a recipe for a maple cinnamon whiskey sour. So here's what I did, right? So my lemon here is a Meyer lemon lavender shrub.
Nice.
So I've got 2 ounces of, let me get my whiskey here. I've got 2 ounces of a barrel strength.
I'm going
Union Horse
3 on the vodka.
Reunion rye. So I've got 2 ounces of the rye.
Oh, you're going
I've got 1 ounce of the shrub, and then I also grated some fresh allspice in it. So I've got a cinnamon stick and allspice in it.
Very nice.
Johnny knows what it is. I don't know what it is. Explain to everybody what a shrub is.
So a shrub,
Dave, it's those things outside your house that you have to take a
It's a thing that
it says it's a preserved cocktail and soda syrup. But what it basically is it uses a white wine vinegar, sugar, and Meyer lemon juice and lavender. These are also great. I mean, they're great for your digestion if you want to take about an ounce a day.
I really think I always thought a shrub was what the Knights of Knee asked for.
So anyway, back to the cocktail. So yeah, so I took that idea. So I've got 2 ounces of the whiskey, 1 ounce of the shrub, half ounce of maple syrup because I don't like it overly sweet. And of course, I dropped a couple allspice in there and a cinnamon stick for garnish.
Very
so
nice.
Johnny, while he's making his drink, tell us more about yours now that you're drinking it.
I'm getting, I mean, just the cranberry, the bourbon's up front, right? The bourbon's still shining through, but those cranberry bitters, I just love those cranberry bitters. I
do, yeah.
I haven't found the cardamom yet, but
cardamom. So my second cocktail does have the cardamom in them.
I'm not.
I haven't found them yet. But I got the toasted almond bitters that you bought as well.
They're not stupid. Do you like them?
Yeah, they're good too. But I really love those cranberry bitters. They're so good.
So So I don't know if you've heard my stupid story about these, but the first time I used them, I was surprised that they were red. They turned the drink red. Now, why am I surprised that cranberry bitter is red? I don't know. Other than
Look at this.
I have cherry bitters. I have cherry bitters, and they're clear. They're not red.
There is look at this right here. There is just cranberry bitters. There is literally a splash of cranberry juice. There is nowhere near enough cranberry juice in this to make it red. That
It's
red
the bitters,
the bitters, yeah.
Okay, so mine's done. So you got the vodka, you got the cranberry, you've got the cinnamon. So you expect this to be cranberry red, but the cinnamon has turned it a nice hazy brown.
Oh, okay.
Reddish brown. We'll give it a reddish brown.
Reddish brown. I've got my cinnamon stick.
I knew her.
Yeah.
In Mexico.
Cynthia Lee gives us a heart. I'm going to post that up there real quick.
There you go, Cynthia. Thank you.
Oh,
cheers. Happy holidays.
The cinnamon, so again, this is a cranberry vodka, but what makes this holiday is throwing that cinnamon in there. The orange bitters, they cut into the sweetness of the cinnamon simple syrup.
I was gonna say they're probably gonna accentuate a little bit more of the cranberry, take away the sweetness of the.
And that's what I wanted. Syrup. I wanted the cranberry to pop, but I wanted the cinnamon to be a counterpoint to it. Because to me, cranberry vodka is not holiday. Cranberry vodka adds cinnamon. Now you're talking.
You gotta have some kind of spice. The reason I went with allspice is I didn't want to do just cinnamon, so I had the allspice berries or whatever you'd call them. So I grated some fresh in there and I dropped a couple in there.
Awesome. I actually have not done that in a drink. I actually have to try that.
I don't think you can see them in there. You can see them floating around in there.
Yeah, no, I see them.
They look like a couple of. Never mind.
I got a story for both. I got two stories.
Right,
two quick stories for both of you. All right. First of all, just on the whole cranberry vodka, Jersey Johnny 35 years ago drinking it. All right. All right. So now you're back then I was playing in a bunch of bands. And one band I was in, we played this one club all the time. We played this one bar all the time.
Is it still open?
No. It was called the Blue Whale. It's called, right?
What was that?
It was in Lyndhurst, actually.
Oh, okay.
All right. So right now I believe it's called Insomnia. I think I could be wrong, but at least it was last I checked. Who knows what it is now?
Don't lose any sleep over.
No, I don't lose any sleep over that. Right? Anyway, but here's the thing. Dave said drunk girls, drunk white girls, whatever. It's a girly girl drink back in the day, right?
Yeah, oh, it was. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. But here's the thing. So when we were playing up on stage, we had signals to ask the bartender for drinks.
Wait a second. Was that just a Rush reference?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yes, it was.
So but ironically, now that you said that, at that particular point in time, I was actually doing the Geddy Lee thing. I was playing bass and keyboards, right? So.
Oh, wow.
So now I'd hit a note and I would give my signal for a vodka cranberry. And my signal for a vodka cranberry, ready, was this.
You didn't put your.
I did not do the tongue. I did not do that. No.
Oh, come on.
I just put it up. Well,
you gotta do it. You gotta do it right.
He wasn't the only one that was going to see me. I didn't want everybody that was watching us play see me do this. Right? So,
had nothing to do with carpeting.
Not at all. So that was the signal for that drink. So, but you know what? Look. In we're talking 1988, 1989, right? Okay. As you can imagine, the only beer available in that bar at the time was Bud, Coors Light, Heineken, right? Yeah. So I was drinking mixed drinks, and I hadn't yet at that age found my love of gin, just yet. All right.
The one thing I'll say.
So that was my go-to. That was a vodka cranberry. It was my go-to to drink while we were playing. So
speaking of vodka cranberry, the vodka cranberry with the cinnamon. The reason I went this direction for this show. So Tom, when you said we're going to do a holiday cocktail show, I'm like, this is Tom. I love Tom. I respect Tom. I'm going to do something I've never drank before, something I've never heard before. So my aim for this drink was a gentleman's cocktail.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I started with bourbon, right? Because most gentlemen's cocktail are bourbon.
Gotta have some bourbon or rye, yeah.
And then I went, this is the vodka cranberry. So
Then you got in touch with your feminine side.
Yeah, so
Yeah, you got a little feminine.
It lost this gentleman.
At least I drank it 35 years ago. Dave's drinking it tonight.
Were you a gentleman 35 years ago, John?
Then you rubbed the right nipple and decided to go with vodka.
So I went vodka because, again, I wanted the cinnamon, I want the cranberry to really stand out. I still think it's a gentleman's drink, especially if you bring the vodka a little higher than the cranberry, because vodka cranberry is usually a one for one, right?
Right.
So what vodka are you using, David? Is a specific vodka for this drink?
I'm using the vodka that Carrie doesn't like, so you use it up.
So you're not wasting stuff that she does, right? Note, I use the word waste, right?
It's not waste, but it is. It's American Plains vodka. We were talked into this at a liquor store we were at. Much to our chagrin, it is. There is some aftertaste to this vodka that shouldn't be there.
Which is why you use it as a mixer.
Yeah, I use it as a mixer. This is not Tito's by any. Someone told me it was better than Tito's. He must have been paid. He must have been the rep for this.
Of course, because he's trying to move that handle that you bought.
Oh hell yeah! And we bought into it. So her reaction to it was getting the massive bottle of Grey Goose.
Nice. Yeah.
Which doesn't fit under any shelf because it's damn tall.
No.
It needs its own table with a light over it.
That's Chopin.
And Grey Goose.
Belvedere, Chopin. Yeah, exactly. Those.
Chopin. Here's the whole thing. I'm one of those who is more of a pure. Okay, you got to remember, my heritage is Polish. So French vodka.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, probably. And don't get me wrong, Grey Goose is a really fine, beautiful vodka, but that Polish heritage tells me, screw that. I'm just no. I need Russian, Polish, or something at least Slavic vodka.
Gotcha.
Right.
So there's no absolutes in that.
Oh God, I fucking love absolute. I'll tell you a story. There was I worked with a guy who was from Poland, and his family was over. We were going to a beer lunch, as a matter of fact. And if you know the Polish, you know that no event begins without shots of vodka. The Russians are the same way. You need shots of vodka.
Oh, yeah.
And so my friend told his brother that I was Polish. So he decided to test me. And he pulls out, before we go to this lunch, he pulls out a tray of vodka shots. He goes, let's see what you can do. So we all, we shoot down the vodka. I look at his brother and go, I thought you were Polish. He goes, I am Polish. Then why are you serving me Russian vodka? He goes, what? I'm like, we just shot down Stoli. You're supposed to be Polish. He looks at my friend, his brother, and goes, you didn't warn me about this.
There you go.
Because he goes, holy shit, how does he know that's Stoli? He's like, oh yeah.
Stoli is very recognizable.
Oh, you're correct. That's totally,
seriously, there's so people say vodka has no flavor to it. Oh, there are vodkas you can tell straight up that you're drinking.
Look, vodka, that's a misnomer. Vodka has flavor to it, yes. But vodka has compared to almost every other spirit, has very little flavor.
It's very, very subtle.
It's supposed to be a top-notch vodka will be very clean and very little burn.
It's a neutral spirit. Like when you hear somebody say neutral spirits,
you've got very cheap product.
Right.
But Stoli, yes, you're getting flavor. There's no burn to Stoli, but you're getting flavor. And Stoli stands out. You can tell you're
It
drinking.
does. You always, I mean, even when I wasn't a big vodka drinker, when the first time I had Stoli, you know what you're drinking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know it. You know this is Stoli. So
Right.
it was. Yes, I glorified in the moment. That
Very nice.
I called out his brother from Poland that he served me Russian vodka,
There you go.
trying to test that I was Polish.
That's right. Well, as I come to the end of my cocktail, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about it again. I use this whiskey. You guys know me. I like to, I like to approach whiskey, wine, everything kind of the same way I approach craft beer. I always buy as small as humanly possible. Union Horse isn't exactly local to me, but it's local-ish. Lenexa, Kansas is kind of a suburb of Kansas City, more or less, even though it's a different state. They're right next to each other.
Say that town again.
Say what?
The town that's a suburb? What?
Lenexa, Kansas. It's more or less a suburb because it's so close.
Alexis, okay.
So Lenexa, yeah. So anyway, this rye though, this Union Horse is so good. This is a barrel strength rye, and this cocktail is just so incredibly easy to drink. But a lot of that is the shrub. These shrubs are very nice if you've never used them.
Great shrubs are great. I love shrubs. I actually don't. Every once in a while I grab one, but I haven't had it in a while.
This is the first time I've heard of shrubs.
Yeah,
so
shrub is.
I'm gonna need more schooling on this.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about my second cocktail as I finish that one up. So the second one I use it. So I should have told you more about the shrubs though. So both are from Kansas City Canning Company out of Kansas City, Missouri. And this one I decided to use is a smoked spiced pear shrub.
Okay.
So I thought that would be good for, again, a holiday or winter or, inspired cocktail, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
So with this one, I went with a different whiskey. I wanted to go a little smokier, so I used, again, I went with a Missouri product. This is it's a cask strength single barrel corn whiskey called Bloody Butcher Red Corn Whiskey at 60.3%.
Bloody Butcher, nice.
Yeah, this is a Missouri distillery. So I used 2 ounces.
I love a good corn whiskey. I do.
Do you?
I do. A really good one. Like I can't drink it all the time, and I'm not going to drink it all the time. But when there's a really good one, I'll enjoy it. I'll have a couple. I'll enjoy it. I do.
So I used 2 ounces of the whiskey. I used 2 ounces of the whiskey, 1 ounce of the shrub, a cinnamon stick garnish, and the cardamom bitters I used in this.
You did use the cardamom bitters. There you go. Did you finish your first drink already?
Yeah.
This is the second one. So if you notice my first drink, I had a cinnamon stick. Right there. It was in there. I don't know if you saw it, but I used a cinnamon stick as a garnish.
Oh, good Lord, that's delicious. Oh, man, I didn't realize I was going to blend so well. I would have made 2 of these. This is incredible. I do love those cardamom bitters because you guys know I love to cook, so I use a lot of spices. So when I saw those cardamom bitters, I said, "Oh my God, I got to try these!" And oh my God, they're amazing.
It's one of those things where I don't know that I would pick up cardamom bitters. The cranberry bitters, absolutely, because I love cranberry. Cardamom and coriander are 2 things, and John knows this well from me. There are 2 things that I don't really appreciate, and I think the reason for that is I have that gene in the DNA that does not like cilantro. So
it tastes like soap to you?
Yes. So coriander, as we know, coriander are the seeds of cilantro.
Cilantro seed, yeah.
And cardamom is not far off that flavor profile. I imagine that it has a lot of the same chemical elements to it that I don't appreciate. This is why I don't particularly like wit beers.
There you go.
A traditional Goza I still absolutely love, even though it's coriander.
Mm-hmm.
In it, the true Leipziger has coriander in it. I still love that beer. This is one of the classics. It's beautiful.
Yep.
I probably don't appreciate it as much as everybody else because of that cilantro hating gene that I have, and I hate the fact that I have that because there's so many beers.
Yeah, I actually in a certain winter warmer, Okay, cardamom really accentuates.
Yeah, it can.
It does, yeah.
And I really do like that about that, and I'm glad that I can enjoy it, and I don't have that gene that
And
gives
you
me
don't have
that
that cheese.
soapy.
And I'm a huge fan of Indian food, and cardamom.
Yeah,
is
these
huge ingredient.
these are amazing, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I gotta find one
yeah,
of those.
I won't. I won't
What
be
it does,
buying
what it
that.
does, John and David, is it really ups the aromatics.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh no, absolutely. But to the point where I won't enjoy it.
No, I get that. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and it's cardamom, coriander, cilantro are all in the same family,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just painful to me that people can enjoy certain beers that I can't enjoy because of that.
There you go.
So, Johnny, are you up to cocktail too?
I am. I've
And
poured it. I've made it.
Johnny
I've
needs to
done
go
it.
before I do.
So, tell
All
me
right,
what
so-
you got, Johnny.
So cocktail number 2, I'm using a rye that I just got at Total Wine, not too long ago, like week or so back. They were doing. I was in the store, and they were doing a tasting. First Call. It's from Kentucky. First Call. A call to the post. So obviously it's Kentucky horse racing related, right?
Of course.
But First Call. It's a rye. They had
That's
a rye.
pretty, Tom. That's really pretty.
They had. It's very pretty. They had a bourbon. They had a rye. They had a port barrel aged rye that I tasted, but they didn't have any bottles of. Otherwise, I would have bought it.
Jesus.
I would have bought it. It was fantastic, but they didn't have any bottles of it. They had a bottle of sample, but then had nothing to sell. Right?
That's cool.
So I bought the rye right there.
I was
Okay.
going to say, given the choices, I know you went with the rye.
I went with the rye. Right.
What with the rye?
So I went with the rye, and
Baby rye.
I'll give you 3 guesses what I put the rye in.
Well, I know what you put the rye in, so I'm going to leave that to Tom to guess.
What did you put the rye in?
I put the rye in a traditional holiday drink.
A old fashioned. An old fashioned, I guess.
No, that's not a traditional holiday drink because you can drink that kind of almost year round. Traditional holiday.
It's creamy. It's got
Eggnog.
eggs in it. There you go. I was going to say it's got eggs in it and it's got nog in it. So there you go.
Tom got it before you went to do obvious.
I wasn't going down the same street for a little bit, but I got you.
And I dusted it with cinnamon on top.
Very nice. Look at you.
Oh, are you going to make me go get some cinnamon, John?
Oh, so good.
It's already in there. It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's tasty. Oh, that's so good. So, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Merry Festivus.
Happy Hanukkah. There we go. Everything.
Hey, whatever you're celebrating, I don't give a rat's ass. Happy to it, whatever it is.
Happy to it, right?
Celebrate it well. And
Merry New Year.
Happy Sweet Tenant Majesty's Day. I don't give a rat's ass as long as we're all getting along.
Exactly.
Happy Festivus.
For the rest of us.
For the rest of us.
We will talk about Festivus on our show a week from Tuesday.
Yes, we will. So,
hey, John LeVay wasn't a bad guy. He was just misunderstood.
Hey, right.
I digress.
You got to do that. So what's your there you go, Dave.
So building up.
Dave, tell us number 2 for you.
This. God, I just blanked on the name. Coquito.
You go.
It's Coquito.
I would have said it for you if you didn't remember.
Yes. So here's the thing about Coquito. Coquito is known colloquially as Puerto Rican eggnog, which is an absolute.
Oh, okay.
It's a misnomer because most of the Coquitos do not have egg. There is a recipe that does include egg. Mm-hmm. So. Love of my life, Carrie made this for me for this show. She made it this morning. Let it age. It's got white rum in it. There's no egg in this. This is cream. This is sweetened condensed milk. But the thing about Coquito, the main ingredient in Coquito is the coconut cream. Okay, because you're talking Caribbean here.
Of course.
So imagine you're in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
yeah, man.
But that's Jamaican. But this is
but
this is Puerto Rican. I'm feeling real Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican, okay.
If you've not seen that video, this is one of my favorite. and I love this. I love.
I've been to Puerto Rico twice. Both times for 3 hours.
3 hours.
Why only 3 hours? Were you? It was a transfer to someplace else?
I was going to St. Martin and coming back from St. Martin. We had a 3-hour stopover on the way there and on the way back. So I've been to San Juan twice. Never left the airport, but I've been to Puerto Rico twice.
French or Dutch St. Martin, or both?
We stayed on Dutch. We traveled over to French.
There you go. That's the way to do it. But
so my wife and I have recently started watching reruns of, or rewatching, I guess, Sanford and Son episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God!
So, of course, what are you?
It's a big one.
But when you said Puerto Rican, I was thinking he was always talking to his friend Julio.
Julio, yeah. You big dummy.
But played by the great Gregory Sierra was Lamont's friend.
Lamont.
Lamont.
No, this is a beautiful thing. This is the second time Carrie's made it this year. It won't be the last time.
Oh no.
This is, you got your vanilla, you got your all the cream in it. This has got rum, so this is a rum-based drink. Now the whole thing is Johnny had a eggnog.
Yep.
So the traditional eggnog
still have.
The traditional eggnog is bourbon, right? When you do eggnog, a southern eggnog, it's bourbon.
I used rye, so I guess
it's still bourbon. It's right. It's a rye. It's a rye, which is kind of a bourbon. Many people do.
It's a bourbon with rye malt in it. So.
Yeah. With an excess.
Okay.
No, it's a bourbon with a higher content of rye.
Right.
It's the same exact liquid, just a higher content of rye. It's the only difference between them.
Right.
Many people will do their eggnogs and take pride in the fact that there are like 8 different bourbons in it, and I just don't understand this. How? What does this mean? Why is this important, and how does it enhance the drink?
It doesn't. It doesn't at all.
It doesn't. One bourbon is absolutely sufficient, and Johnny
you
knows
can use
this.
rum, brandy. It doesn't necessarily have.
I've put brandy. I've put brandy in my eggnog before. I've put amaretto in an eggnog before.
But do not mix it.
Now, John just said what I do. My eggnog is amaretto.
Amaretto's okay.
Oh, amaretto in an eggnog is a beautiful thing. It is one of the most drinkable versions of eggnog you will ever taste.
I think David is doing a lot of chick drinks tonight.
So what?
You think he's talking about a lot of chick drinks?
Yes, I thought of this before. I had bourbon and rye. Tom, you had bourbon and corn whiskey. Dave's had vodka and rum.
Yep.
Yep. The only thing we haven't hit.
We've covered the gamut. Yeah, we.
No. Gin and tequila have not been hit tonight. Those.
Well, we're not done, are we?
I just got.
Are you saying you want to invent something on the fly during the show?
I just picked up a bottle of this too. Sweet Gwendolyn. It's French gin.
I've got some gin. If you want to do cocktail 3, I can invent something on the fly.
So if you guys invent a holiday gin cocktail on the fly, I will try to invent a tequila.
I could put another ice cube in here, pour some gin, and put a little cranberry juice in it, and call it a day. I mean,
I'm trying to figure out how a tequila gin cocktail would work.
I think I don't have any tequila on hand, but I do have gin.
Oh, I've got tequila on hand. You guys work on the gin one right now. I'll work on the tequila.
There you go.
Are we seriously doing 3?
I'm not opening the gin right now. I've had bourbon and rye. I'm not going to gin. I'll pour some rye in a glass with a little maybe.
Tom,
I'm willing to do it.
Tom, you challenge me.
Challenge.
Okay. Are we going 3?
We can do 3. Go for it.
All right.
Okay, let's see what we can do here.
Johnny, here's what I'm going to do for you. So we're all inventing a cocktail on the fly. Use whatever product you want to use.
Sounds like a plan. You got
Even if it's a beer cocktail, Johnny.
I can work on that.
You guys got to work with me though, just a little bit, because I've got to step off camera for a second.
All right.
Get my stuff together.
Before you do it, I got to tell you this. I want to back up for a second.
All right, go ahead.
Drink your drink first. We can step off camera individually.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just telling you when it comes time. I need to.
Yeah. So two things really quick. One, I want to back up to the you big dummy. Back up to the
well,
back up to the
Puerto Rican. That's what crossed my mind.
Red Fox, love Red Fox, love
Oh,
Red
God.
Fox, love Sanford and Son.
Here's the thing about Red
Love
Fox.
Harlem
is-
Nights. You ever watch Harlem Nights?
Oh yeah.
Oh, love that movie. And
But
you know what? I love Richard Pryor in it. I love Eddie Murphy in it. I love Della
Red
Reese in it.
Fox.
Red
Della
Fox
Reese
steals
is-
that movie.
But here's the thing about Red Fox. If you know Red Fox from Sanford and Son,
Uh-huh.
and only from Sanford and Son, you
Yeah.
know Red Fox.
So
If you've ever seen his stand-up,
His stand-up was very, very blue.
very, very
I was
blue.
just about to say,
Very blue.
he was the bluest black comic of his day.
But I
He
gotta
really
ask,
was. He really
I gotta
was.
ask you both this, and no Googling. All right. What was Red Fox was not on his birth certificate. Okay.
Oh, I can't get this.
What was Red Fox's actual name?
Yeah, that I don't know.
I would have to Google that. What's wrong with you?
John Elroy Sanford.
And that's why it
Oh,
became Sanford and
Sanford.
Son.
So Sanford and Son. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of friggin' sense. That's why they
Well,
made
my wife and I have been watching those
that's
episodes. We're going, oh gosh, that wouldn't fly today. That's a little politically correct.
Oh no!
There's
Never
to get away with that.
that.
It's the big one.
Oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey.
It's a big one. Okay, so I need to make a tequila holiday.
So I want to say the other thing I want to say is too. Earlier tonight, while I was doing my work, I was actually drinking while I was doing my work. Silly me, right? I was I had a couple beers, right? I had a couple beers, but I was multitasking. I was getting work done, and I'm working on a big article on brown ales. I'm doing a big huge.
Oh,
brown
nice.
ale.
Okay.
Doing a big, huge brown ale thing. Doing a Schwarzbier thing come January, but December I'm going to finish this up. Doing 15 different brown ales. I'm a little bit past halfway through it, but I had 2 tonight. All right. And the 2 I had tonight were both maple brown ales. One was from Mayflower Brewing. It's the Pursuit of Sappiness.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. Mayflower out of Plymouth, Massachusetts. And then the second one I had was from 4 Quarters Brewing up in Vermont, Winooski. French Toast Great Bear. All right. It's a maple, cinnamon, vanilla. There's chocolate malt. There's some smoked malt in this. It was fantastic. This was delicious.
Because we know how much you hate maple.
Yeah, how much I hate maple, how much I hate smoked malt. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
But I figured I went with that second because of the adjuncts in it, and also there's cinnamon in it, and that led me into what I was drinking with you guys.
Did you let John Hall know you were drinking this?
I did not. I will have to let him know I did drink it. So.
Okay, so our challenge was our challenge to add gin or tequila, or just pick up a third.
I'm not having gin. I'm not.
Johnny's out. This between you and I, Tom.
On the fly.
You and I.
I'm going to invent a cocktail.
Gin, I was going tequila.
Okay, I'll do gin, tequila, Johnny. If you're willing to invent a third one,
Johnny's out of this one. This between you and I. This was a challenge that I took up, and I'm regretting it right now because I'm looking over and I'm thinking what I have, what I could add to a tequila. I can make so many drinks from a tequila right now with what I have, but a holiday drink from tequila.
So Johnny, here's what I want to do with you. I want you to talk to people while he's doing his thing. I'm going to step off camera and get my ingredients together.
I will do that. I will definitely.
I'll be right back.
Well, he does his thing. I will say that I'm.
What are you going to talk about?
What
am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about you guys getting your drinks together. Okay, I'm going to talk about the fact that these two guys are going to go out and they're going to do a tequila and or a gin on the fly. They're going to do a tequila or a gin holiday drink, and it's going to be amazing because I know these two. They're going to come up with something really good or really, really, really convoluted that's going to make all of us laugh. One way or the other, this is going to be fun. So we're going to experience that. But when I pour
my simple syrups aren't really going to work. I've got a cinnamon simple syrup. I've got a regular simple syrup. I have got a maple simple syrup.
I think you should go with maple.
How's it going to work with tequila?
I don't know, but
maple
we'll find
and tequila?
I don't know, but we'll find out. Well, here's the thing. pick the tequila properly, right? If you pick,
No, it's got to be a white tequila.
it's got to be a white tequila, right?
Yes.
But it's also got to be something along the lines of like a Casamigos, something that has a little bit more barrel or vanilla flavor to it. Not so much.
No. So the white tequila that I have is the Corvo Tradicional.
No, that I mean that might work. I couldn't tell you because.
But
Yeah.
So if I'm going to do this, it's going to be. Oh, I just have an idea. Okay.
No, like I knew I smelled something.
Yeah, something's burning.
Yeah, look at Tom's camera. You had an idea, did you?
I did.
Right.
And the fire alarms are going off.
There you go.
Okay. I think I've got something going here.
All right, he's got something going here.
I
am enjoying. I had a little bit more, and in my shaker over here, and I'm going to finish that up. All right, there we go. That's that'll do it.
Okay.
And a little bit more of my eggnog.
This is
so I finished up. I put a little bit more. I'm going to top a little bit more rye off in it. I'm just going to just a drop more rye. Just to make it a little bit more.
Okay, I need to go get some
fresh more.
I need to go get some fresh ice on this.
Fresh ice. I bring my ice to the set. You know, right here. I have one of these. I have one of these thermo flasks. I could put ice in this and leave it in my hot car in the summer for an hour, and it's still ice. There's no water in it.
Okay, Mr. Johnny.
I've got a friggin' Yeti that'll do
Johnny,
that. So I'm gonna.
What did you decide to do for cocktail 3?
No, Johnny's not in this.
I'm not in this. It's the two of you.
But you're going to do one anyway. Would it just not with those ingredients?
Yes. So give me a second.
Oh, come on, John. You got a third cocktail.
I actually, technically, my third cocktail is a little bit heavier rye in the eggnog because I didn't pour the whole shaker in the glass before. So,
all righty. So, Dave, what did you decide on?
Dave just went to get fresh ice. He went to get fresh ice.
Okay, while he's doing that, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here. Well, because I want to get this good and chilled. Because then you really want chilled, right? So here's what I got. I'm using Still 630 out of St. Louis, Missouri.
Nice.
This is their American Navy Strength Gin at 120 proof. So I've got 2 ounces of that. Here's what I also decided to do, though, is I told you I made.
You muted yourself, Tom.
Yeah.
Now you unmuted yourself.
Okay. So I've got 2 ounces of the Navy Strength Gin from Still 630 out of St. Louis. I've got 1 ounce of my homemade cranberry simple syrup. And then you're going to use these cranberry bitters to do this gin cocktail on the fly.
Nice.
So 2 ounces gin, 1 ounce homemade cranberry ginger simple syrup, I should say, because I don't think I said that.
Cranberry ginger simple syrup. No, you did not. You said
and I still half of it. Trying to
I've never made a cranberry simple syrup. I've never made a cranberry ginger simple syrup. That's interesting. I've never made that. How is it?
It's very good. So what I did use the dried cranberries, and I had some dried ginger root.
Very nice. Very nice.
My wife's giving me the look because I just spilled shit all over the place here. I mean, it's absolutely my fault. I should have trained it in there, but I wanted to show you here, so I did.
That's fine. Absolutely.
The floor loves it, she says.
Nice.
Anyway, I like to keep the floor tipsy. It treats me well. Let me show you this cocktail, though.
Pretty glass, pretty color.
Very nice.
Oh, God, that's genius. I am special. Oh, my God, I'm like an alcohol savant.
So cranberry ginger simple syrup. Say it again. Give the recipes. Cranberry ginger simple syrup.
So I'm using the Still 630 Navy Strength Gin, and it's very, very, very herbal. A lot of juniper, as you might, but there's also a lot of lemon going on here. So I've got 2 ounces of that. I've got 1 ounce of the homemade cranberry ginger simple syrup. So 1 cup of cranberry, 1 cup of water, 1 cup of raw sugar.
1 cup of cranberry, 1 cup of water, 1 cup of what?
Hey,
Why the water?
so 1 cup of water to make the simple syrup. 1 cup of water, 1 cup of cranberry.
To make the simple syrup. Okay.
To make the simple syrup, yes. And then I added a tablespoon of the dried ginger root.
Gotcha. So no sugar, just the dried cranberries and the water.
Yep, and of course you boil the shit out of it.
Of course. Hold on.
Yeah, you got to get all that shit out of
I
there.
need paper towels.
But it gives it a nice, pretty color. Look at that.
That's very nice. I'm gonna have to try
God,
that.
that's gorgeous. This is very nice. That's a nice drink.
So 1 tablespoon of dried ginger.
All of a sudden, I think I'm pitching Dave's feminine side.
All right. Here, I'll give you one of these. There you go. That's the international symbol. There you go. There you go.
That's it.
So, Dave, how's your cocktail coming along? Dave, how's your cocktail coming along, Dave?
It'd be much better if I didn't spill it all over the damn place.
Yeah,
Both of you.
I have a problem, Dave. Yeah,
cocktails that you're spilling, both of you.
Okay, so making
I didn't bring my strainer out. I was trying to strain it, and I spilled it everywhere.
making a holiday cocktail out of tequila that's a bit of a challenge right there, because gin's got the juniper, so you've got a little bit of the
herbal,
evergreen,
tree berry kind of.
Yeah. So making out tequila's a little challenge. So what I've done here, this could be god awful.
We're gonna find out.
I'm gonna find out. You guys.
So before you take a drink, tell us what you put in it.
So this is what Blanco tequila. So white tequila. If you want to be really, really fancy, you can call it plot.
Oh, Jack, I forgot to post that. I didn't see that. Jackie Brown. That's my other. My mixologist, Jackie, who was on my first cocktail show. It's going to be on the next cocktail show. Thanks, Jackie.
So this has got white tequila in English.
White tequila in English. Not white tequila in Spanish or
in
Chinese
English,
or anything.
Yeah.
White
so
tequila in
it's
English.
It's either tequila plata, if you want to be.
So
Blanco,
beyond the tequila.
Yeah. We're pushing on. Okay. So I'm like, okay, so we're doing a holiday cocktail with tequila. Yay.
I'm going to be done with this third cocktail before you get done explaining what you got there.
Try to explain this. You're not wrong here. Because it's hard to explain my thought process.
Just tell me the ingredients. That's all I'm asking you, Dave. Tell me what's in it. Just tell me what's in it, Dave. I don't need the process. Just tell me what's in the damn thing.
It's 2 ounces of white tequila.
Okay.
It's 1.5 ounces of peach Grand Marnier.
Oh, okay. Peach. Okay. I got you.
Grand Marnier.
And it's got maple simple syrup.
This could be interesting.
It could be awful.
No, I'm gonna go on the interesting. So it's not like, oh my God, this is fantastic or horrible either. It's gonna go with interesting.
I needed something to really work against the tequila. Tequila, when you think of a holiday cocktail, tequila is not the first thing that comes to mind.
Right. No,
it might be the 8th.
Unless it's a holiday in Tijuana. Yeah, I mean,
or Jalisco,
mm-hmm.
or Guadalajara, which is borders to Jalisco,
or Tolingua. We'll find that out in a week and a half.
My wife's in the room, so I can't talk about my trips to Tijuana.
And John's correct. This is interesting.
Interesting.
Despite what I've put in it, the peach is there.
There you go.
The maple is there.
Mm-hmm.
The tequila is punching everything in the nuts.
There you go. As tequila usually does.
That's the purpose of tequila.
Yeah, right.
Or as some pronounce it, tequila.
This
is true. This is true.
to steal a phrase from John's head brewer, I'm not mad at this.
So here's my question though: will you drink it again? Is that a cocktail you'd make twice?
No.
No, I was going to say no.
This is a no.
He's not mad at it. It's interesting. No. Right.
This
file it away. He can describe it on future shows. Not happening again.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
There's certain things I need to tone down on this. I need to fix proportions. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so let me rephrase the question. The idea of that cocktail is something you do again.
Yes. I like where I started with this. The agave.
The agave.
Yeah, the hiccups.
So proportions aside, that's a cocktail you would try to manipulate a little bit.
This needs to be dialed in. The agave, the peach Grand Marnier, and the maple simple syrup. They do kind of work together, but right now they're at odds.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Okay, gotcha.
If I can bring the proportions, I think the maple's where it's supposed to be. I think the peach and tequila need to balance out a little bit. And I think this will be a nice drink. Still, is it a holiday beer? Just because you throw cinnamon in it, does it make a holiday?
Yeah, probably not so much. Probably not so much. But it's something to work. It's something
holiday,
to work
but seasonal. Maybe not a holiday, but seasonal.
It's a fall. I would put this more in the fall.
All right.
Okay.
You know what you might try, Dave? Seriously, not kidding. That exact drink, the maple simple sugar, the peach Grand Marnier, the tequila, and cranberry bitters.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
That'll make it definitely.
I agree with John completely. Yeah, that change of bitters would do it. Yeah,
you might want to go with that.
I need to dial the tequila down. Well, we'll see. I'm going to leave it where it is.
I love that. That's great.
No, dial the tequila up, Dave.
Yeah, dial it up.
No, leave it with it is. Maybe throw those bitters in there, like you mentioned, and see where that goes from there, and then and then adjust from there.
Right. Fair
well,
enough.
Dorothy, tell us what we've learned.
We've learned. So, Tom, this is something on every one of your shows that we've learned is that when you invent any kind of cocktail, the first time through, your idea may or may not have been a good idea.
And there's always room for improvement.
But there's always room for improvement. There's room for dialing things in. So anybody who's trying to invent a cocktail, I'll tell you this one thing. If something doesn't work out the first time, adjust your proportions.
Yeah, sometimes your idea is right and your ingredients are right. The proportions are off.
You just stole every friggin' word out of my mouth there.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I mean, it's like that old adage: if at first you don't succeed, suck a little harder.
Yes. I'm not touching that one.
I didn't plan on inventing a gin cocktail tonight, but this one is, oh my gosh. I'm telling you, guys, I'm an alcohol savant.
Tell me again what you did here.
Cranberry ginger, simple syrup, and gin. I got to try that.
Gin, cranberry, yeah. So cranberry, ginger, simple syrup, and cranberry bitters.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. So, holiday speaking.
I
went. There's a town, a little north of me, same county, New Jersey. Red Bank. All right. I was at the Count Basie Theater, but it was the Vogel, which is another.
John.
Oh, I forgot to post Jackie's comment. It doesn't sound too shabby.
What's Jackie talking about here?
Oh, the drinks we were referring to. I wasn't paying attention. Didn't post that up in a timely manner.
You've also got Guy.
I was listening to Dave.
Well, you've got Guy has made a comment.
Guy made a comment. Guy Hebert.
So Guy Hebert says hi.
Guy Hebert.
Guy Bear.
Is
Guy
he-
Bear.
French Canadian.
French Canadian.
Oh, actually, it was Louisiana or Canada.
Canada.
I need a spoonful of peanut butter. So anybody listening who gets the hiccups from drinking, and I've told John this many times,
Just the other day, as a matter of fact.
yeah, just the surefire remedy for this: take a big old tablespoon of peanut butter, put that in your mouth.
And if it wouldn't screw around with the drink you're drinking right now, I'd tell you to just go get it right now and get it done. But can you imagine peanut butter with your tequila and peach? I don't think
It'll
that would
work
go.
with the coquito, though.
It would work with the coquito, yeah. So anyway, the other night, Wednesday night, Jess and I went up to the Vogel, went to Red Bank, and we saw, I don't know if you are aware, you know.
The Vogel's a great venue.
Vogel's a great venue, yeah. David Benoit. David Benoit is
Oh gosh,
jazz pianist, right?
It's like a Benoit balls. That's a whole.
He invented Benoit balls, right?
Yes, that's a whole different thing.
That's a whole other thing. Now, anyway, David Benoit, he was at the Vogel. He was at there the Count Basie Theater performing.
I hope
he was doing. He did
to see him.
He did exactly. He did a bunch of his hits, right? Which I loved it. Like here's the thing with David Benoit when it comes to him. This first time I ever saw him. I've been listening to his music since the 80s. Okay. He's as far as my jazz piano playing, he's a major influence for me. And he has been for that long since the 80s, right? 35 plus years. And whatchamacallit. But he also he did work on the Charlie Brown soundtrack with Vince Guaraldi.
Oh, really? Wow.
So he actually kind of filled in for Vince Guaraldi
right?
after Vince Guaraldi, right? And he worked with a few things. So
and if you follow Johnny on Facebook, there's a picture of Johnny and Mr. Benoit. Because he managed to take a selfie with him because Johnny's
it wasn't even a selfie. It was right there.
Yeah,
there you go.
there
It was me. There you go. Me and David Benoit.
And this was taken by Jeff. I imagine it was taken by Jeff.
No, it's actually taken by somebody he works with. There we are having a conversation. There you go. So that was good. Now I spoke with him for a while. He's a great guy. I loved every minute of the conversation I had with him. He's a genuine guy. He loves music. He had a local. He's touring right now. He's again what he was doing. He did a bunch of his own music, but then it was a tribute to Vince Guaraldi and a Charlie Brown Christmas. So he did a lot of the Charlie Brown stuff. Yeah, but all the Christmas songs. The Christmas Time Is Here and the Great Pumpkin Waltz and the Thanksgiving song, and it was amazing, right? But he had a local chorus, a local 16-year-old, 15, 16, 17-year-old kid.
Oh, nice.
Chorus. Cool. Come on with him. And at a certain point and do like the Christmas time is here, the back chorus stuff. Amazing. But he's so genuine with them. He wants to, he conducts, he does amazing, like he teaches, he works with them. He's nice. all about passing the music on, right? He's not just this, piano player. He goes out and plays, and that's it.
So you're saying he's a true musician.
He's a true musician. Loved every minute of my conversation with him. It was an amazing show. If you get a chance, if you have any interest in any jazz piano or whatever, if David Benoit is going anywhere near you, go see him.
Very nice.
So,
you pronounced that wrong.
What's that?
Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
All right. So talking about jazz piano a little bit, did you ever listen to Chick Corea?
Oh God,
love Chick Corea. Yeah, absolutely.
Chick Corea.
That was one of my big influences.
Yeah,
Chick Corea, Pat Moran.
He's one of the gods, right?
Absolutely.
So did you ever listen to a Return to Forever, like the first jazz supergroup?
Yeah, absolutely.
A Romantic Warrior. I still have that album. That album was genius.
Yeah. Oh, there's I mean, any of them. I mean, Chick Corea. I mean, like I said, David Benoit was a big influence. Anything on the GRP label.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, pretty much anybody was on a GRP label. Larry Rosen and Dave Grusin. Grusin Rosen Productions, GRP, right? But they're amazing. But yeah, I mean, even Spyro Gyra.
Oh, I love Spyro Gyra.
Wow, that's
Joyride is one of my favorite tunes. I love Joyride.
Joyride's a great song. I mean, Morning Dance. I mean, that's like the that's like the jazz calling card right there for sax led music. But the Rippingtons, David Benoit played with the Rippingtons a lot. They did a couple albums. David Benoit and the Rippingtons.
So going off script just a little bit, because we're talking about cocktails, but I got to tell the story. So being a long-haired rock and roller in 1979, I don't know if you guys remember on TV. I was like, it was before cable. You had these pirate boxes anyway.
On TV, absolutely.
There was a thing called On TV. So they were doing these concerts from colleges. One was AC/DC, but one of them was Spyro Gyra. So being a long-haired rock and roller, I had no interest, but I watched it anyway because there was nothing else on. So I'm watching Spyro Gyra, being a guy who's never listened to anything but hard rock. I'm thinking, oh my God, these guys are freaking brilliant.
Yep. Oh yeah.
At 14 years old, they had me hooked from the first song.
No, that's the whole thing. Is you listen to music. There's so many genres out there.
Oh yeah.
But you got to remember, there's that one band that started that genre, right? There's even punk, everything that we think of as a standard genre. There was a band that started it, that epitomized it, and
I got no credit for
it. That's the point. You just. Again, you're stealing words out of my mouth, Tom. Where they were there, and there's just like Rage. Rage was, how do you categorize them? Rage Against the Machine. There's so many bands out there, and you're talking about Spyro Gyra and like Johnny, and I'm gonna hit Johnny's heart right here. Rush. What genre do you put them in?
It's prog rock. It's prog rock.
It's prog rock, but they were outside
but they were
of
like,
prog rock.
People. Here's the thing: with Rush, many people, not so much anymore, but back in the day, everybody called them the poor man's Yes. Okay, now I
get that. I get that.
No, they were not. It was different.
Yes was at the forefront of prog.
Yeah.
Yes, did so many things.
But not giving credit for it usually. But if you really listen to the stuff, so are the Moody Blues.
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
You can categorize Moody Blues. I mean, they got top 40 at a point, but they were definitely prog in the beginning.
They were definitely one of the early prog bands. But you look at Yes. Yes is the band that I play bass. So when I listen to bands, it's bass. Yes was the first band.
Sure.
Where Chris Squire introduced lead bass.
Lead bass, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Rickenbacker bass, which was more treble than bass.
Yes. Yeah. And then Geddy picked it up and ran with it. Not only did he go lead bass, I'm going to play lead bass, I'm going to sing, and I'm going to play fucking keyboard.
So Geddy didn't just run with it; he danced to it. He sashayed. He did everything. I mean, oh my God! If you ever saw him in concert, the man was just freaking brilliant.
I saw Rush 24 times.
And as much as I love Rush, and as
you are a true believer, aren't you?
You have no idea. But as much as I love Geddy, as much as I love Rush, and I love what Geddy did for bass guitarists, Chris Squire, he revolutionized what a bass guitarist could be.
I only saw.
I'll back you up a little bit, David. I'm not going to necessarily disagree with you wholeheartedly, but Chris Squire wouldn't have done what he was able to do if it wasn't for John Entwistle before him.
100%. Not because he couldn't do it with the chops. Chris Squire had amazing chops.
Listen to the real me. If it wasn't for John Entwistle, prog wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
There's two things here. I agree and disagree with you. I agree with you for the fact that John Entwistle was one of the most underrated, most underappreciated bassists in his time. As a bassist, you hear what he does. You're like, oh, I can play that. No,
you can't.
You can't. It's not as easy as he makes it sound.
Yeah. He just looked. I mean, he just stood there.
He just stood there, and it made it so damn easy. Yeah. What he did was not easy, and he in a very rock and roll setting, not a prog setting,
Yes.
played bass in a sense where you can't play this.
He played the bass like it hadn't been done before.
Exactly.
In a rock and roll setting, yes.
And so on one hand, I disagree with you that he was not a prog bassist.
No, I didn't say it was a prog bassist. All I said was without him, there would be no Chris Squire.
And that's where I agree with you. Without Entwistle doing what he did and showing the world what a bassist could be.
Yeah, because before John Entwistle, bassists like you ever see the movie? That Thing You Do. That's Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's exactly the movie I was thinking when you brought this up.
The bass player,
Ethan Embry,
TV player.
TV player.
TV player.
Player.
That TV player, yeah.
And Tom Hanks was accentuating that back in the day. It was just a bass player. It was
just a guy back there. Couldn't have been
That's it.
And that was it. But you're right that without Entwistle, you don't have.
And I dare to say another underrated bass player.
Who?
Another underrated bass player. And I'm not comparing Entwistle here. Entwistle definitely led into Chris Squire and everything else. But another underrated bass player in addition back in the 60s, Paul McCartney.
Oh, you know what? Yes, you are exactly.
Here's the whole thing. Here's the whole thing about Paul.
You are 100% right. Yes,
Paul invented.
He did a lot of things that people weren't paying attention to.
Paul invented 100%. Lead bass, and Paul invented lead bass because he was the biggest egotist that ever existed at the time. He needed to be heard. He needed. He
was right except for a couple of songs that George Harrison wrote more than Ringo, but except for the few songs that George Harrison wrote and Ringo wrote.
So even
Paul and John wrote everything.
Even when George and Ringo wrote the songs, John wrote a bass line to accentuate the fact that hey, I'm awesome. He invented the lead bass, as far as I'm concerned. He invented lead bass. And so this is why, Tom, I kind of disagree with you with the John Entwistle thing. I don't think Chris Squire. I don't think Betty Lee.
I'm just saying the timeline disagrees with you. I think Entwistle did.
But
I'm not comparing. I'm saying Paul McCartney was an underrated bass player back in the 60s.
No, Paul McCartney was definitely underrated. I disagree with that he was the first lead bass, but I agree with you.
John Entwistle led into the Chris Squires and the Geddy Lees and the Jeff Wettons and everybody else.
Oh yeah, John Wetton. Yeah, John Wetton was great too. Yeah,
I disagree.
King Crimson.
Yeah,
King Crimson.
And then Asia after that. You know.
Yeah. He went poppy, but yeah.
I disagree. I think
there's still a lot of prog elements in Asia. I mean, as poppy as they
were. There was. Jeff Downs on keyboards. I mean, God, how amazing was he?
Jeff Downs, John Wetton, Steve Howe, and
Steve Howe on guitar, and Carl Palmer on drums.
I mean, that was a super. Asia was a super group.
They were a super group.
But let's bring it back to the bass.
Back to the bass. Here's my thing. So I got to tell this quick story, and then you can go back. But I remember hearing an interview with Pete Townsend about how they tried to say we need to tone down the other elements of the band so you're heard. So we're going to turn down Pete, and we're going to turn down John Entwistle on the bass. And Pete's response was, "You can't turn down Entwistle, otherwise what I'm doing sounds ridiculous."
You can't turn down Rhino.
He says, "All I'm doing is this. I'm doing a chord. I'm doing a hard chord. If I don't have John in the background, what I'm doing doesn't sound like anything."
But my point is, none of this, Entwistle, Chris Squire, Geddy Lee, does not happen without Paul.
See, I disagree because I don't think you're looking at the timeline.
I'm looking at the timeline.
McCartney isn't there before Entwistle. McCartney isn't there before Entwistle.
Yes, he's before Entwistle.
No, he's not.
No,
you got to look at the timeline, man. It's not.
No. I think McCartney exists before Entwistle because McCartney's ego would not allow him to be a non-lead bass.
I don't disagree, but he doesn't play the same bass that
It's
Entwistle.
not. It's different.
No one does.
It's different.
No one does.
It's different. It's
So
different.
Entwistle is Thunderfingers. He is Rhino.
And here, and I'm going to make
You know,
another.
okay,
I'm going to make another connection.
So he
for you
takes.
here.
So
Hold
if
on.
you take Paul.
Okay, go ahead.
So you take Paul, who existed before John, right? The Who comes after the Beatles, and you take the two.
Not
of them,
long after the Beatles, but after.
Not long.
But see, here's
Not
the
long.
thing. No. If you're talking about being a signed act or a nationally known act, yes. But as an act, no. They weren't before the Beatles.
They
The Beatles weren't
were
before
performing
the
at the same time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, they were
But
out
here's
at the same time.
I'm going to make another connection to the Beatles for you. Hold on. I'm gonna make
Johnny, go ahead.
But my point here is that
Ow.
you take Entwistle, you take Paul, you put them together, you take the lead bass because of Paul's ego, you take the talent of Entwistle and what he could do on a bass, you combine those two, and now you get Squire, and now you get Geddy.
I get you. I see where you're going with that. But I'm going to make another Beatles.
It takes the two of them.
I'm going to make another
to make this village.
I'm going to make another Beatles Who connection for you. Okay. Beatles drummer.
Ringo.
Ringo Starr.
Or are you going before Ringo?
Yeah,
no.
Best. We got
Ringo is one of the most underrated drummers in history.
He really was. Yeah.
Ringo's definitely an underrated drummer. Quick aside from what I'm about to say. Quick aside. Ringo, I'm not talking about Pete Best. I'm talking about Ringo.
Yeah.
Ringo, Pete Best being the fifth Beatle, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a quick aside. This isn't where I'm going with this, but hold on. The first single that the Beatles ever released in America was Love Me Do.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
The single version, there's a tambourine on it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ringo Starr is playing the tambourine. He's not playing the drums.
No.
George Martin,
in
the beginning, did not like Ringo Starr's drum playing. So he brought in a Scottish session musician over in England named Andy White.
Oh, really? Okay.
Andy White played the drums on Love Me Do. Before Andy White passed away in 2015, November of 2015, he lived across the street from me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
That is incredible. I did not know that. That's a great story.
So he went on. I mean, we had many, many hours and hours and hours about him playing with the Beatles, him touring with Marlene Dietrich. I could go on forever with the stories Andy White told me. It was amazing.
But
George, we've been on it for an hour and 12 minutes. Are we still going?
Yeah, we're still going. But I just want to mention that about Andy White. But here's where I was going. The point I was making, the connection. Okay. So Ringo Starr is a drummer. Ringo Starr marries who? Barbara Bach, right? They have
Barbara Bach, yeah.
They have a son. What's the son's name? Zach Starr. Ringo Starr is not Ringo Starr. He's Richard Starkey. Right? Richard Starkey. They have a son, Zach Starkey. Yep. Okay. Zach Starkey learned how to play drums. Ringo did not really teach him as much as Keith Moon, his uncle.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So Zach Starkey learned how to play drums more from Keith Moon than he did from his own father.
Wow.
And when I saw The Who in 2015, Zach Starkey was playing drums for them.
Are you kidding? That's incredible. That's a great story.
He learned more from the maniac than the technician.
There you go.
Because Keith Moon was, when you talk about the greatest drummers in rock and roll history, one of them passed recently, much to many chagrin. That's the he played with Rush.
Yeah, I mean, he you know what? I mean, there are so many drummers that are amazing that to this day will tell you the best drummer ever is Neil Peart.
And when
bottom line, end of story, no discussion. That's the end of the story. It's him.
And even when you put Moon, Bonzo into that discussion, two of the greatest drummers in rock and roll history, but you're telling me that Ringo's son was trained by the most insane drummer
Pretty much.
mentioned in the top 10, top 5, maybe top 3 drummers.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what made the Who so brilliant, right? Is because the rhythm section didn't do what a typical rhythm section did. You had intervals all over the place. You had Moon not really keeping time, just playing a lot of drums. I mean, that's kind of what made Who the Who, because, I mean,
it's more than that.
now Townsend wasn't a bad guitarist, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't necessarily a lead guitarist.
So Townsend, here's the thing I always say
He's a
about
great
Townsend.
songwriter too, though.
He's a brilliant songwriter.
There's one, but no one
is a brilliant songwriter.
No one will ever. There was something said about Townsend that I will never forget. Is that I forget who said it. They said no one can define rock and roll except maybe Pete Townsend. Pete understood the music. He understood the genre. He understood his place in history while he was living it.
Yep.
He understood. He once called Eric Clapton and said, "You need to come to this show with me." Mm-hmm. He's like, "Why?" Eric replied. And Pete's like, "I want you to see the man who's going to put us both out of business."
Is that right?
He was talking about Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And he took him to see Jimmy, and the two of them. Pete Townsend was one of the few rock and roll artists who understood what was going on at every second of every day. That
I've actually been at a Who show where Pete actually said that exact story.
Yeah. He gets it. He understood everything that was going on at the time. He knew what rock and roll was. He knew his place in the history. He was Pete Townsend was one of the most special artists in rock and roll, not just for his talent, not for his songwriting, but his understanding of the genre. Mm-hmm. At the time, he knew what was going on.
He did.
And it's just it's almost like he was a time traveler, where he knew here's who's going to replace us. Mm-hmm. Here's what's going to happen. Pay attention to what's going on around you, because I'm not it. You're not it. This guy is it.
Exactly. Jackie Brown just commented too.
Oh, she did? Yeah, there we go. We're going to put that up there.
Yeah,
there's a guitar.
5 guitars. There you go.
I think it's funny how these shows evolve, right? We're talking about cocktails. Now we're into music. And this is why I call this at the pub and not a specific,
Well, I got to be honest. Like we were talking about before. Like, there's really not one type of music that I dislike. There are certain musicians that I don't necessarily have respect for.
Yes.
Okay.
But you might respect their talent, but then maybe not respect their person.
Yeah, exactly.
John's got to judge them on the talent.
Exactly.
Because there's so many artists out there that are very popular that don't have
there's that. There's certain artists out there that are super talented that don't have the recognition that they have, and there's artists out there that have the recognition and amazingness. But I mean, please, whatever. I'm not going to go there. But in any event,
let's go there.
I digress.
So, John, I mean, I love blues, and I love blues.
I'm not naming names. But a lot of
those folks just don't get the recognition they deserve.
Look, I was in the music business for many years. I owned a recording studio. I had a few CDs out.
John, back this up a second, because there's 2 questions here that you've just brought up. Mm-hmm. There are those artists that have all this recognition that don't deserve it,
right?
And there's artists that deserve recognition that don't have it.
That don't necessarily have it, right?
Give us one artist in both categories.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to alienate anybody.
So, John, let me take Dave's question and kind of change it a little bit. Without saying who doesn't deserve it, name me one across the line. So you could name a guitarist, keyboard, drummer, whatever, singer even, that should get more recognition than they do?
Oh, geez. I mean, look, it's changed over the years. With every generation, it changes. Okay,
It does.
it does. Hold on.
You're trying to defer, aren't you?
No, but you'll hear me. You'll hear where I'm going with this. All right. Right now, like we're old guys. The three of us, we're old guys. Right? We're old.
Yeah,
Okay?
he is.
Okay. But as old guys, we know what we're talking about. Okay. And we have our own. Well, no. Hear me out.
Not every generation is going to agree with that.
Hold on. Let me finish. We have our own opinions and we have our own likes and dislikes, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But we know, like, we have the ability. Let me say it like this: we have the ability to say,
not the ability, the experience.
Our life experience gives us the ability to say, all right, well, you don't really know what you're talking about just yet. Give it time, or something along those lines. But in any event, there have been over the years a number of styles. I won't even go to bands. I won't even go to specific musicians. There have been a number of styles.
Everybody needs to get to the point here.
Yes, stop interrupting me, and I will. There have been a number of styles that haven't been really at the forefront, and right now, okay, it's rap right now, and I'm not putting rap down. Okay, there are certain rap artists that I actually do like, but they're older, right? They've been around many years, 30, 40 years, right? But it's rap. And I'm not talking about the newer rap because there's a bunch that I'm not even going to get into because I don't want to do this to Tom's show, but we'll leave that alone. There's rap.
No, I'm okay. Hell, say what you got to say, man. Well,
I'll finish what I'm saying up by a funny anecdote in a minute.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right, so there's rap. There's country. Rap and country are probably the biggest two genres right now in the world,
and probably the most diverse of.
Sure.
Hell
yeah, polarizing. Yeah. But biggest two and polarizing, right? So, but there hasn't been a lot of like the music. Excuse me.
You'll get that point eventually.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to. If you listen to me,
if you just listen. Sounds like my wife. If you would just listen to me.
All of the music we like or we have liked, whether it's prog rock. Whether it's prog rock, whether it's pop, whether it's top 40, whether it's classic rock, whether it's smooth jazz, whether it's
school country,
old school like pop, bebop jazz, any of that, it still exists. It didn't go anywhere. There's still artists out there making that music, those genres.
Okay, right? Yeah, I get it.
Right, but they're not. It's underground, right? And at certain points in history, it wasn't underground. It was in the forefront. All right.
Yeah, that's true.
So my point of my story here isn't singling out any particular artist that's getting underrated or anything like that. It's there's an ebb and a flow, right?
Okay.
Rap and country are big now. Everything else is down. In 10, 15 years, it might be something else. Notice I use the word might. It might be something else, right? But back in the day, there isn't one particular style that I dislike. Just like I don't listen to that style, right? I just haven't listened to anything from that style. But in any event, my two biggest styles that I've appreciated have definitely been jazz and prog rock, and I see there's a delineation there. There's a connection.
There is.
There is.
All right. All music styles.
What seems odd about that? No, not what you said. What seems odd about that about what I listen to is I love jazz. I don't mind prog rock, and there's a handful of bands I listen to, but it's not really a dear to my heart. I'm kind of a blues and hard rock guy, but I
love blues and hard rock too. Absolutely. Yeah.
So my connection to jazz, where you go from jazz to prog, I go from jazz to blues,
and it goes that way too. But see,
does. But
that's the other thing. There's a lot of
direct connection,
and it's almost there. Absolutely, and Dave's right on that one. But
that
being said, there is a connection. You can pretty much get from one genre to another
every time.
There's a line that you can draw.
But you got to have that one that takes you to the other.
Right. There has to be. It's step one, step two. You can get to step 5, but there's that 1 to 2. And
but for me, it started with rock, started with hard rock, then went back to blues, then to jazz, and then back to blues again, and then to hard rock.
Sure.
To me,
I kind of did the circle thing.
It does. To me, it doesn't start there. It starts much earlier. You're looking at
Classical.
no, Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters. You're talking
Well,
about,
I mean, but
Well,
anything can be.
for
Anything
rock
can
and
be
roll.
connected to classical too. That's why. I
But
was just
rock
saying.
and roll. When you're looking at rock and roll, you start with the slave music. You're starting with the music that came over from Africa to the United States that was tempered by Louisiana. There, you're talking bluegrass. This all gets tempered. This all comes up, and every artist that rock and roll looks to as a base, they all look at their inspiration as Muddy Waters. Muddy Waters. If you haven't listened to Muddy Waters, you have not looked at the start of everything.
Well, Muddy Waters was the first to electrify the blues.
Right.
Yes, exactly. Not just the blues. Blues didn't really quite exist at the time.
Well, no, it did. I mean, it was the Delta blues, but that's what he played. Technically, it was the Delta blues. It might not be called that, but that's what he did.
That's what he did.
Yeah, it did. I don't disagree with that. But you look at Muddy, and everything from the blues to rock and roll to R&B all stems out of what he took.
Yeah, that is exactly right.
I'll make another connection for you. I'll make a connection from classical to rock, for hard rock for you. Ready? I just watched an interview, and it was from a while ago. Somebody's interviewing Richie Blackmore.
Oh yeah.
Right? Oh yeah. Right. Okay, I love this.
All right. He basically said that he took inspiration from Beethoven's Fifth, inverted it a little bit, and wrote "Smoke on the Water."
See, that's exactly right. I think that's what a lot of people just don't get, right?
But that's the whole thing. So you start with Muddy, everything branches out, and then you have these outside's not the right word. You've got other experiences. There's other inspirations that come into it.
Well, so I mean, most rock and roll stems from the blues. Prog rock does not. Most prog bands stem from classical music. Yes,
it does.
You're classically trained. That's why it's different.
100%.
100% right. You're 100%.
But here's the thing. Here's where a lot of you are going to go scratch your head and try to find a way to dispute me, but you can't. Is that Van Halen? What made Van Halen so different was Eddie was classically trained.
Oh, hell yes.
So he approached hard rock from a different angle.
Yep.
No, you're absolutely 100%.
That's why most rock guitarists cannot do what Eddie did.
No.
But what I'm talking about here is that rock and roll.
Not to mention they weren't as talented as him, but that's besides. That's a separate story.
A whole different story. But what I'm talking about is you look at the roots. You look at the roots where it comes in. And then classical music, not classical rock, classical music starts interjecting into rock and roll, which it started and stemmed from the Muddy Waters.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, you
get into this, rock and roll begins, and then Prague is taking that tradition. They're taking that musicality, and then so we're going to take this. But I grew up, my parents listened to classical music, not classical rock, classical music. And you've got these bands, like Procol Harum, right? You got oh my God, Procol Harum,
Robin Trower.
Yes, right. You got these bands that people don't appreciate what they did at the time, because they brought this classical music into rock and roll, right? John mentioned it earlier, where it just came in, and classical music and that blues influence into rock then became prog. And my God, the things, and then you came to the consummate as I consider it the epitome of the prog rock classical music, rock and roll blues, which was Yes, because Yes was one of the first bands that orchestrated their music, where you had the key changes, you had so many different elements come into their music, and then prog rock expanded from what Yes was doing.
I was going to say this before. I've only, as much as I've seen Rush, I told you before, I saw Rush 24 times. I've only seen Yes once. However, I saw them on the Union tour. So it was Steve Howe and Trevor Rabin.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was Rick Wakeman.
Beautiful.
It was Rick Wakeman. It was Rick Wakeman and Tony Kaye.
Oh, I didn't see that. So when I saw it was Tony Kaye.
It was Alan White and Bill Bruford.
Oh my God, Alan White.
And of course Chris Squire and John.
What John's referring to here is that Yes had so many iterations, so many
different guitarists, 2 different drummers, 2 different keyboardists. However,
a lot of people think that Wakeman was the original board player, but he wasn't. Tony Kaye was the original board player.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Tony Kaye was the original keyboardist. Then it was Rick Wakeman for a long time, and then Tony Kaye came back. And then Trevor Rabin, when Steve Howe stepped away for Asia, Trevor Rabin came in. Bill Bruford and Alan White. Alan White was, back and forth.
As great as Rick Wakeman is, Tony Kaye is brilliant.
Brilliant.
But then the Buggles.
But it was always Chris Squire and John Anderson. That there was no other bass player or lead singer. It was just.
But then the Buggles.
And that's the sound, right? That John Anderson vocal, that rhythm of Chris Squire. That's what made that band.
But the whole thing about that band is, eventually the Buggles took over that band, produced an amazing album that was still Yes. It did the whole thing about Yes, and Yes was the project. If you think about it, there were so many different members that came and went. How many iterations that band existed? But every album.
I don't know if this is the point John was trying to make or not, but I'm gonna agree with him that it didn't matter how many guitar players you had. It didn't matter how many keyboard players you had. As long as you had John Anderson and Chris Squire, it was always Yes.
But that's the whole point I'm making here. It didn't matter who was in the band, who was controlling the band, who was writing the music.
You had to have those 2 guys, or it wasn't that band.
Yes, it was always Yes. Every album that Yes ever put out was always Yes, and
you had to have that nucleus.
There's only 2 bands that I can.
Wondrous Stories.
God, yes.
Starship Trooper. Whatchamacallit? Yours Is No Disgrace. All the way.
Tempest Fusion. Is still Yes, and that's when the Buggles took over.
So John, I'm going to take it in a slightly different direction. Your favorite Yes song?
My favorite Yes song? Oh, geez. Is Roundabout.
Long Distance Runaround.
Long Distance Runaround is my second.
For me, is I can't remember the name of it.
So I'm guessing, John. I'm guessing you said Roundabout because of the bass line. I said Long Distance.
No. I'm going to say
I said Long Distance Runaround because of the keyboard part.
There you go. Yeah, both of them. They're my 1 and 2. They're my 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Roundabout, yes, for the bass line, but there's one song for a bass line that's Heart of the Sunrise.
Heart of the Sunrise is a great song.
That's a great song, yeah.
So this song, if you're going to talk about bass lines, this song, I play bass, and I tried to learn this. And there's many parts of that song, because this is orchestral. Mm-hmm. This is the thing about Yes. There is so many different parts. There's so many different keys. They do key changes. They do tempo changes.
Modulation is like...
that's the problem with Yes, is you can't be an average musician and play a Yes song.
No, and
you can't do it really with Rush either.
And I'm a less than average.
I tried. I was an average musician and would kill myself trying to play Long Distance Runaround.
So I've tried to play Heart of the Sunrise as a bass player.
My fingers
bled. It's a brutal song. But the thing about prog music, there's two branches of prog as far as I'm concerned from the bass, of the bass of it, not the bass guitar. So BASE in this case. And you look at Yes, and Yes is just such an amazing band. But when you talk about prog rock, how do you not talk about Pink Floyd?
Oh yeah, you got to talk about Floyd.
So you got two branches right here, and
I'll throw you something else in the mix too.
But see, Floyd's different. Floyd's a little different because then you got the psychedelia element.
That's what I'm talking. Yeah, exactly. So you got the prog psychedelia side, you got the prog orchestral side. These are the two branches.
Every part of this video, I've made Dave's point before he was able to get there.
Absolutely. I'll throw another band in the mix for you. I'll throw one more band in the mix for you. Before we wrap anything up, I'll throw one more band in the mix for you.
All right, go ahead.
You got jazz. Okay. You got prog. Classical elements.
You're going to say Queen, aren't you?
Steely Dan.
Oh, Steely Dan. Oh, yeah, Steely Dan, yeah.
So Steely Dan, here's the thing about Steely Dan. Steely Dan, you're talking about one person, actually.
Two.
Name the two of them.
It's Donald Fagen and Walter Becker. There's two.
At the end, but that's not how it started. Because you're not going to have Steely Dan. You're not going to have those songs. You're not going to have that sound without Jeff Skunk Baxter.
You got to when they first got together. Let me ask you this. Dave might know the answer to this question, so don't answer, Dave. You might have forgotten. You might not know. I'm not sure, but I'm just asking Tom here. Do you know who Steely Dan, and I do air quotes when I say Steely Dan because they weren't actually Steely Dan at the time. Donald Fagen and Walter Becker met at Bard College up in Annandale and Hudson in New York.
Yes, they did.
Okay. When they first got together and they first formed a band, the name of the band was the Leather Canary. Okay. So Steely Dan, in essence, the original name was the Leather Canary. Do you know who their first drummer was?
Oh, I don't know. No, huh?
A man by the name of Chevy Chase.
Really? Yeah. Oh, no, actually, now you say that, I remember hearing that now. Yeah, that's funny.
Chevy Chase. Yeah. So, but you're absolutely right, though. When they first did their first album, they actually had musicians as the band. Later years, they just brought in studio musicians. The album Asia, which is one of my favorites of all time. The album Asia was Donald and Walter and a bunch of studio musicians.
But you got to remember, Steely
Dan. The first band they had together, the first album they did was all like they actually had musicians on it, and Jeff Skunk Baxter was part of that. Absolutely, that sound.
Just part of that. He was instrumental in that particular sound.
Absolutely,
it was. But
Jeff Skunk Baxter, that oh man.
And the thing about Steely Dan, for those who know Steely Dan, the popular music that came out of Steely Dan, yes, it was Fagen and Becker to begin with. But eventually, Fagen's ego took over everything. Becker was kind of left out of it. And Fagen just dominated this band. So, yes, were they a prog band? Yes, but they were.
I don't know that I refer to as prog.
There were prog elements in what they did.
I would call them
jazz rock.
I would call them pop prog.
They were jazz rock.
There was a jazz film.
Yeah, I'm going to go with John. I don't know that I refer to him as prog. More jazz.
There was a jazz, but there's pop elements.
Pretzel Logic.
Oh, Pretzel Logic was one of my favorite albums. But Fagen. So when Fagen went solo, he was straight up jazz rock fusion.
No, this is more R&B. Fagen's solo stuff was more R&B than jazz.
Oh, period with so much jazz to it.
No, it's more R&B than jazz. It's a lot more R&B than jazz.
There's a combination to it, but
there was the first album he did, The Nightfly. That was his first solo album. I agree with Tom on that one. That was R&B. That was
R&B. Yeah.
Period is different.
It kind of pissed me off.
There was a lot more fusion albums. There was a lot more fusion elements.
When that album came out, and he kind of pissed me off because I felt like he abandoned his rock elements when he did it.
You know what?
But that's what I loved about Period.
R&B pop.
In the grand scheme of things,
sold out, man. Fagen sold out.
Fagen and Becker separated.
Period was not commercially viable.
Fagen and Becker
was not popular. I did not think he sold out on it.
He did.
I thought he went back to his roots on that.
Fagan and
I
Becker.
went the opposite direction with
Fagan and Becker separated in '82.
Yes.
And Fagan released Nightfly in '82. That was the first year. But everybody says like there's this big scam. They were only separated, if you will, excuse me, for 10 years. They got back together in '92 and did the New York Rock and Soul Review, which I had the pleasure of, had the fortunate pleasure of seeing that tour. And Boss Skaggs was in it, Phoebe Snow, Michael McDonald. It was an amazing show.
Holy crap.
And then they released another album, and then it was Steely Dan again. So from 10 years, it was just 10 years. And Fagan only released like two or three albums he did in that time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, I mean, it was 10 years, and at the time it was long, but in the grand scheme of life for the last 50 years that they were around, right? It was only 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, they were,
So we could talk about Asia. We could talk about the different incarnations of Steely Dan. But for me, Can't Buy a Thrill and Pretzel Logic are their best two albums.
Can't Buy a Thrill is great. Pretzel Logic. Royal Scam's a great album, too. Royal Scam's
great, yeah.
Great album.
I'm just saying, my point was Asia was overrated.
Asia was overrated, but it was amazing. That super group was cool. I saw them in '82. Asia
was pop. Asia was meant to be AM radio friendly.
Asia was to make money.
Asia was meant to be AM radio friendly.
It was meant to make money. Pretzel Logic to me was,
Pretzel Logic, Can't Buy a Thrill. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to what I said earlier, Jeff Skunk Baxter.
No, Asia is there are a lot of songs on Asia that I love.
No doubt about that.
Well, I love Peg, but
Asia was the first song. Asia was the first album though that they did.
You can't deny that it is AM radio friendly.
Oh, you're right. No. But it's the Asia is the first album they did with literally entirely nothing but studio musicians. It was just Donald Fagen and Walter Becker. That's it.
And that's why it's wrong. It's so wrong.
Here's the one thing people always forget about.
There was no band in there. It was the two of them, and they brought in Steve Gadd.
And that's why it was all
won an Academy.
It was all of that album was all about the money.
Yeah, but Steve Gadd won an Academy Award for his drum solo in Asia, in the song Asia on the album Asia.
Okay.
Academy Award?
A Grammy Award, I'm sorry.
Grammy
Award. He won an Academy Award.
Here's the thing people always forget about Steely Dan is that Donald Fagen was one of the hugest egotists in music history.
He was also born 2 towns away from where I grew up, and he grew up in a town that I lived in at one point.
Are you trying to equal him in egotism?
Not even close. Not even close.
No, because you can't get close to his egotism. Steely Dan was as many members of that band.
He's still touring. It's Becker's gone, God rest his soul, but
everybody could put into
Fagen's still touring.
Fagen was
Becker was a great musician.
Becker was a great musician and a great storyteller too. I remember I saw him. He actually the breakdown part in Hey 19 before they get into the Cuervo Gold, the Fine Columbia. Before he got into that part, he actually would come out and he would talk for like 15 minutes and tell a story about when they were on tour and smoking and drinking and everything else. And it was amazing.
But here's the thing about Fagen. You did not exist in this band until he told you what you did. Mm-hmm. He was a perfectionist to a point, to extreme points, and you could not exist in Steely Dan unless Fagen let you.
I have 1 degree of separation from Donald Fagen and Steely Dan right now, and that's Michael Lenhart. Michael Lenhart. Michael Lenhart is a trumpet. He's a trumpet player, and he plays with Fagen in every Steely Dan tour. And I've actually worked with Michael Lenhart and his father Jay Lenhart.
And what did he ever tell you about Fagen? And
I talked about Fagen with him,
and how autocratic he was, and
oh
god. So. And the thing is, people will talk about Fagen. They will talk about how awful he was to work with. But when you look at the end result, the music, Fagen was an absolute perfectionist. If you missed one goddamn note amongst 50,000 can make you do it again.
Yep.
Once again, I'll say this one last time. The best Steely Dan stuff was with Skunk Baxter.
Yeah. That solo in Reelin' in the Years is one of the best solos.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Then his work with the Doobie Brothers, but Skunk Baxter, we're talking about maybe unsung heroes. I mean, Baxter's one of the greatest ever.
Skunk Baxter's an amazing guy.
Oh my God, you talk about unsung heroes of records. How many of them are there?
So many.
Thousands.
Yeah. But there's a big connection between Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan, too. I mean, Michael McDonald.
Yeah, Michael McDonald.
I mean, Black Friday. I mean, Black Friday is
yes.
That chorus of Black Friday is all Michael McDonald.
So my impersonation of Michael McDonald is anything that he sings to me sounds like he takes a big bong hit beforehand.
I cannot disagree with that. That is probably the best description of Michael McDonald singing I've ever heard.
Yeah, but he always sounds like he take a big bong hit before he ever sings anything.
Well, the Doobie Brothers, my favorite era is the Tom Johnson era, but anyway.
But McDonald is one of the most recognizable voices in classic rock history. Because he sings backgrounds on so many songs, as well as the bands that he was a major part of. You can't decry anything that he sings. I love him. I love
when these beer and cocktail shows meld into music shows.
We kind of went into something else. That's why I call these at the pub and not a specific, alcoholic genre. Anyway, as we try to wrap it up, David, give me some final thoughts.
So my final thoughts is going back to why you started this show the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why you brought Johnny and I in on this was to talk about the cocktails that that speak towards the holidays and what flavors. And the one flavor, while we discussed here, that really speak to all of us for the holidays is cranberry, right?
Yeah.
Right. You had a cocktail for cranberry. John had a cocktail with cranberry. I had a cocktail with cranberry. This seems to be the pervasive element in all of the cocktails that to us cried out holiday.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that the listeners here need to put cranberry into their cocktails. What speaks to you? Holidays, to everybody that's out there, says something different. There's the Christmas tree. The cocktail line that I went with, which was the vodka cranberry with the cinnamon simple syrup. Kurt said it's a shame that we don't have our Christmas tree yet, because it'd be great to have taken a sprig of that and put that in that as a flavoring. So to you, everybody's listening, what is your flavor? Because so many people, and none of us went this way, and I'm surprised that none of the three of us went this way. Peppermint seems to be a very pervasive flavor in holiday cocktails, right? None of us went there, and I'm really surprised. I'm not a big fan of mint, peppermint, whatever you say. I know Johnny kind of does like the peppermint.
I do.
Tom,
I actually I've got a peppermint cocktail, but I had it scheduled for tomorrow's show, so I didn't bring it on tonight. But yes, I do agree with everything you said there. Yes,
but that's the whole thing about holiday cocktails is what speaks to you here on this show.
But it's interesting that we all did cranberry. Yes, you're right about that.
Cranberry was a pervasive flavor here on this show, but that is not the flavor that everybody associates with holiday. For the three of us,
well, it could be anything. Yeah,
it could be. It's cranberry.
It can be cranberry. It can be cinnamon. It can be maple. It can be peppermint. It can be all of the above or a combination
So,
thereof.
Johnny, what are your parting thoughts for this particular
My
episode?
parting thoughts, I'll keep it short. My parting thoughts are enjoy what you enjoy.
And
Have
you can't say anything better than
Parting
that.
thoughts.
or Dave will finish my thoughts if you want.
Go ahead.
Exactly what John's saying here. Enjoy what you enjoy. He's spot fucking on here.
So here's what I was hoping.
Hold on. Enjoy what you enjoy. Drink what you want to drink, whether it's cranberry, whether it's peppermint, whether it's maple, whatever it is.
There you go.
Enjoy cinnamon, whatever it is. What's going to make your holidays the best holidays they can be? Enjoy what's going to make you happy. And have at it and have a wonderful, happy, healthy, safe, enjoyable holiday season. And just
what flavors,
just whatever flavors that may be, enjoy it.
To you.
There you go.
Oh,
exactly.
Shit. There we go. We're back. Everything went crazy for a second. We started with cocktails. We talked about music. My parting thoughts are nothing has to be one-dimensional. We can all have a conversation about it. It doesn't have to be one particular thing. I love that we started this conversation only about cocktails, and we ended up talking about all kinds of musical whatever. For me, that's what was great about this particular conversation.
We didn't always agree, but we respect each other's opinions.
Sure, absolutely.
So, Mr. Samurai, Mr. Jersey Johnny, I am. Who the hell cares? You know who I am. I'm going to skip right to this all-around good guy, and we're going to end this. You guys hang on. I'm going to talk to you off camera for a second, and goodbye.
Happy holidays.
Everybody.